Rwanda is marking 23 years of liberation to remember the day killing stopped during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. Now, the Rwandan community living in Kenya gathered at the Kenyatta International Convention Center to commemorate the day. Back in 1994, the then rebel leader Paul Kagame marched into the capital and seized control, ending the genocide that killed 800,000 people, mainly Tutsis. Now, this year's celebrations comes barely a month before Rwanda hold an election in which President Kagame is expected to win a third term in office. Now, just to tell us more on what is happening at the Kenyatta International Convention Center as far as that celebration is concerned, we're now joined live by our reporter Trix Singando, who is there now. Trix, good afternoon, and what more can you tell us?
Good afternoon, Yusuf. Like you said, Rwandan diaspora have gathered here at the KICC to just celebrate 20 years since that liberation. Typically, it was a day that we're supposed to celebrate the independence from the Belgians who actually colonized Rwanda. But after the genocide, this has been incorporated to celebrate.
Well, Trix, I'm getting difficulty hearing you. Of course, we're going to go back to Trix once we get a clear audio there from the KICC where Rwanda is marking 23 years of liberation. Of course, that's a very big story as far as the East Africa region is concerned. But for now, in studio, I'm now joined by Abel Oyieyo, who is a political analyst. Many thanks, Abel, for joining us here.
Thank you.
This hour here on Worldview. Well, Abel, it is a very busy day, politically speaking, here in Kenya. So right now, in Kamkunji grounds, a very historic ground, NASA holding their rally there. Yeah. So perhaps can you maybe preempt or tell us perhaps what are some of the agendas that we do expect these leaders to raise today?
Of course, I expect Raila to strongly claim, the baton of, fighting for democracy.
Yes.
It goes way back to 1990 when they were pushing for multi-party democracy and all that. Mm-hmm. And I think the choice to go to Kamkunji is meant to connect NASA to the historic
liberation.
Repeal of Section 2A. So they're going to, of course, come out and claim to be the owners of that kind of legacy. As we approach, of course, the 8th August elections, yes, they want to come out as the champions of freedom and, democracy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's what we call a political opportunism, which is expected, of course.
Exactly, and there's something that really came up when Duncan Khamba, their reporter, was talking to the ODM CEO there, and they're saying they're very much keen on the electoral justice. They're not even talking about having a peaceful election, because they're saying if we will have a free and fair elections, then peace will come in automatically. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think to some extent it's true, because if the election is free and fair, then I think guys will not have a reason to cause chaos. Mm-hmm. But again, I think in most African countries, it's not about the fairness and freedom of the elections. Some guys will still cause chaos even if the election is free and fair. That is based on our inability to accept defeat. Mm-hmm. That is why I think some guys lose elections but still cling to power, because we don't accept democratic systems. So free and fair elections are not necessarily a guarantee for lack of chaos. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, because most people, even during the nominations, it was very chaotic, because people don't see election as a contest. They see it as some sort of a venue where they're going to win and nothing else. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, so that is
a sad state of affairs that we need to come.
It is closely connected to the assertion that we don't see elections as okay, free and fair elections are not necessarily a vehicle to peaceful, outcomes. Yeah, because of the mindset that I have to win, it has to be me and no one else. It ends up being chaotic even when, the process is free and fair. It's a case of the losers not accepting what? Defeat. So what we can do is I think we need to tone down the kind of rhetoric we have and focus so much on peaceful coexistence during the election process and even after. There is so much to our country than just a one-time election.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking about election, and before we go to the presidential debate, there is a case that is going on at the Milimani Law Courts. We expect them to offer Kenyans, a ruling that might bring, the issues to do with the ballot papers to an end once and for all. Let's talk about, perhaps how the ruling will go. Let's say it favors NASA. Can we find ourselves in some sort of a crisis as a country?
Yes. Now, that is going to be a serious problem, because I think we're talking about close to just a month to the election day. And If it's cancelled, it means the procurement process for a new company to print the ballot papers has to be initiated, and that is likely to take a longer period. So it's
more
possible.
More than the 31 days we already have.
Exactly. And it's not possible to cancel the printing of presidential ballot papers and accept what has been done. I think I was told up to 90% of ballot papers for governors have been done, and 25% of the woman rep candidates. So you cannot accept partial, delivery from a contractor. So it has to be called off totally, and the procurement process has to start, of course, so as to get a new company. That is likely to affect the election day.
So what if we get to a scenario where we have to postpone the election day?
That is a constitutional crisis, because the constitution calls for elections to be held on the 8th of August. Yeah.
So what will happen if that doesn't, or if that is not the case?
I don't expect, of course. I expect, well, it's a court process, and it can go either way.
True.
It's likely that the tender is going to be upheld, and those guys are going to deliver ballot papers. What we can do is to make sure the NASA guys are given an assurance of a free and fair election.
I don't know. Somebody said we might as well go the Gambia way and use marbles.
Well, no, I don't think we have that kind of...
Of course, that will not happen anyway. That is just some humorous comment here.
Yeah.
But let's go straight to the presidential debate. Of course, the debate will proceed on as planned, because, the High Court ruling today that Abduba did, of course, he had filed a case saying that it should be stopped. Of course, this is a contest between two people.
Yes.
Two main protagonists.
It's a two-horse race.
So, do we really need these other individuals to be on the podium with these other leaders? How important is it?
Of course, what we need to do, due to the situation in which Kenyans find themselves, is to give the small parties a chance to, to be heard from and seen by Kenyans. Now, Kenyans find themselves in the horn of a dilemma. Whichever direction they turn, they go into a bloody pulp. Now, if you turn to NASA, what you get is a bunch of guys who've been in government for a long time, in past government, of course.
Yes.
And once you take time to scrutinize the records, you find a disgraceful litany of very, very corrupt cases and all that they've been involved in. Now, when you turn to the government, we have a president who at some point came out and said, you see, you guys, you're complaining. I don't have anything I can do to deal with corruption. Now, and what we can do, we have to create a third path for Kenyans. And the best we can do, of course, is to let the smaller parties come out. So the debate can benefit them, of course, to show Kenyans there is something you can get. If you don't like NASA, you don't like Jubilee, the guys there you can consider.
The president had come out clear, was it 2 days ago, saying that he will not be in the debate because he believes it will reduce him to some sort of a shouting match with the rest. Do you think he was right to say that and opt out of the debate? Because these are 8 presidential candidates we're talking about. Yeah. Actually, if it's about issues, we wouldn't have even enough time to talk about everything.
Exactly. And I think that what the president made is a serious, very nice political move. If it were me, I could have done the same thing. And of course, as the sitting president, you can expect him to be blamed by nearly all the candidates. So the best he could have done, of course, is to pull out, which means he could have he actually reduced the remaining guys into some kind of clown show. So he gets to benefit by pulling out.
The NASA leader also pulled out.
Yeah, of course.
Is that a good strategy as well?
Yes, I think what he did is okay. So now what remains is just a joke, right? Yeah, but still it has to go on to allow Kenyans get to listen to the other guys and find out whether they can, work with them.
I don't get it. There are people who are saying if these other leaders, or these other candidates are brought on board, they're a bunch of jokers. If they are not brought on board, then it means they've been discriminated against. So I don't know, what is the right procedure? What is the right way to hold this debate? Are we supposed to give the president and the NASA leaders some sort of an exclusive kind of podium, or
I think
they should all be brought on the same podium?
What we need, of course, we need very clear rules on presidential debates. The first debate has to be all-inclusive. All the guys have to be included. Yes. After which, of course, we have to get opinion polls from various companies. And, of course, the Kenyan media is a bit funny because they don't allow as many polling firms to come out and share the results. So based on the poll numbers, you can now decide to cut off some guys. So now you have to set some kind of benchmark. If you get, let's say, 10% and above, you can be in the main debate. So let's call it debate 1. And if you score less, you go to debate 2. That's what they could have done. But you see, now we have maybe 1 or 2 polling companies, which, of course, did not even produce reliable results on which you can use to lock out some guys from the main debate. Yes. So we still have that challenge.
Abel Oyieyo will continue with this discussion, but right now let's go straight to Eldoret, where Deputy President William Ruto, who was just a while ago at the Uhuru